Across centuries, humans have wondered, what happens when consciousness meets its own limits and goes beyond? This question, once confined to monasteries and forests, now finds itself at the heart of neuroscience labs worldwide. The answer isn't just philosophical, it shapes how we live, relate, and understand ourselves. This video embarks on a journey to explore altered states of consciousness, bridging the gap between scientific rigor and the richness of human experience. We'll see how these states are not just anomalies, but essential aspects of what it means to be human. For decades, the debate about altered states of consciousness was polarized. On one side, the scientific medical community often dismissed mystical experiences as pathology or superstition. On the other, spiritual and alternative communities embraced these states, sometimes without critical rigor. Many people with profound experiences found themselves without language or support. This video aims to create an honest, intermediate space, respecting both scientific complexity and the depth of human experience. We live in a time called the psychedelic renaissance, where research on substances like psilocybin and DMT is revealing their therapeutic potential. But what's truly healing isn't just the substance, it's the experience itself. Studies show that the depth of mystical experience, not just the molecule, predicts lasting benefits. This insight leads to a crucial question. Can we access similar transformative states without drugs? Science suggests, at least in part, that we can. Before diving deeper, it's important to clarify what this exploration is not. It's not a manual for reproducing psychedelic experiences without substances, nor a spiritual guide with definitive answers. It doesn't replace medical care, and it doesn't promise easy transformation. Instead, it's a rigorous, practical investigation into non-pharmacological techniques for altering consciousness, grounded in science and honest about what is known and what remains mysterious. What exactly is an altered state of consciousness? The term, first coined in the 1960s, refers to any mental state that deviates significantly from ordinary waking consciousness, whether through meditation, breathwork, fasting, or even spontaneous moments of awe. These states are not reserved for mystics or drug users. They're part of the natural spectrum of human experience, recognized both by those who live them and by outside observers. Imagine consciousness as a musical scale. Most people play only one octave, the ordinary waking state. But as William James observed, just beyond our usual awareness lie other forms of consciousness, separated by the thinnest of screens. Modern neuroscience confirms this, showing that the brain can shift between different modes, each with its own patterns and possibilities. Altered states are not anomalies, they are natural variations within this spectrum. Why do altered states matter? On a therapeutic level, they're linked to reductions in depression, anxiety, and addiction. For self-knowledge, they offer deep insights, sometimes described as more real than ordinary understanding. Philosophically, experiences of unity and ego dissolution can transform our relationship with mortality and meaning. Scientifically, altered states help us understand consciousness itself, much like particle accelerators reveal the structure of matter. This journey is structured around 7 doorways, families of techniques that can induce altered states without drugs. These include conscious breathing, fasting and diet, meditation, sensory deprivation, movement and exercise, rhythm and sound, and the importance of context and complementary practices. Each doorway offers a unique route, but their real power lies in their combination, creating synergistic effects that deepen the experience. Profound altered states aren't achieved overnight. They result from gradual preparation. Body, mind, and context all play a role. The recommended approach is progressive. Start with accessible, low-risk practices and advance step by step. Consistency is more valuable than intensity. A modest daily practice, sustained over time, leads to deeper and more lasting changes than sporadic, high-intensity sessions. Some techniques for altering consciousness are powerful enough to produce significant physiological and psychological effects. Practices like hyperventilation, fasting, or sensory deprivation are not just relaxation exercises. They can trigger strong reactions. That's why safety, information, and professional support are essential. There are clear contraindications for certain conditions, and respecting these boundaries is critical for responsible exploration. At the heart of all this lies the greatest mystery, consciousness itself. Philosophers like David Chalmers distinguish between the easy problems, explaining functions like perception, and the hard problem. Why is there subjective experience at all? Despite advances in neuroscience, no theory fully explains why brain activity is accompanied by the feeling of being. This mystery is the backdrop for all explorations of altered states. Modern neuroscience reveals that the brain operates through dynamic networks, such as the default mode network, DMN, salience network, and central executive network. Altered states often involve reduced DMN activity, quieting the narrative self, and increased connectivity between brain regions. Techniques like meditation, breathwork, and rhythmic sound can shift these networks, leading to experiences of ego dissolution, unity, and vivid perception. Much attention has focused on DMT, the so-called spirit molecule, which is produced in tiny amounts in the human body. While it's tempting to attribute all mystical experiences to endogenous DMT, the reality is more complex. Non-pharmacological techniques work through multiple mechanisms, altering brain chemistry, rhythms, and network dynamics, without relying solely on DMT. Other neuromodulators like serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and endocannabinoids also play key roles. It's important to distinguish between what's well-established, what's plausible but unproven, and what's myth. Science confirms that the body produces DMT, but at levels too low for psychoactive effects. The idea that the pineal gland releases DMT during death or dreams is still speculative. Non-pharmacological techniques don't work by releasing DMT, but by engaging a constellation of neurobiological mechanisms. Intellectual honesty is key to safe and meaningful exploration. The ultimate goal isn't just to collect extraordinary experiences, but to integrate them, transforming temporary states into lasting traits. Regular, consistent practice leads to real change in how we think, feel, and relate to the world. Altered states are doorways. What matters most is what we bring back into everyday life. With the right preparation, safety, and honesty, anyone can explore the vast territory of consciousness and return transformed.